Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's first video doing the November month-ahead forecast for today's first video. Later on we'll have the 5-day forecast, which will cover the period from today through to Monday, and there will be some wintry conditions in that 5-day forecast, so come back for that later on today. But this is going to be the video that has a look at the coming month ahead for November. Have a review on October and also have a sneak peek at the end for December, so quite an interesting video coming up. Just say about the ads. First of all, there's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Helping us page website. Thanks so much for doing that. Also, Dad's shop is open, so if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just follow the links that takes you to Gav's shop, and then from there click through the Amazon banners. Do your Christmas shopping as normal at Amazon. You don't need to do anything differently at all. Just the fact that you are clicking from Gav's to Amazon means that we will get a revenue fee on the things that you're purchasing, and thanks very much for doing that. Christmas update started last night. It's very successful. There'll be another Christmas update along tomorrow evening. Not this evening though, because this evening myself and Quanta will be doing a live event from 7 PM. You have to find out on the homepage. We'll be talking about weather coming up in the next few days, what winter potential could be at the weekend, maybe looking a little bit further ahead as well, discussing the winter and taking your questions also. So that's going to be on the homepage at gavsweathers.com from 7 PM this evening. A chat lasting probably around a couple of hours, so we'll see how we get on with that one. Right, let's get on with the November month-ahead forecast then. I'm going to start off just quick talking about October. Now, the Gavsweathers October forecast has gone quite well. We predicted a very dry October, particularly for England and Wales. That came off. In fact, I've seen some information suggesting it was either the driest October since 1978 or possibly even 1951. I think that 1951 figure is maybe you take September and October together, not sure. But anyway, been a very, very dry October. We successfully predicted that. In terms of temperatures, we said good chance of average temperatures. A cooler month was the idea. I wasn't sure whether that would be sort of average temperatures or maybe a little bit cooler than average. Actually, we did finish up very close to average. It would have been a bit cooler than average. It had been for just the last 5 days when it turned quite a bit warmer. And got some particularly mild nights, albeit with a lot of fog, and that held the temperatures up just in the last 5 days, and that stopped it from coming out cold and average. Nevertheless, it's been one of the cooler months. There haven't been many of them, but one of the cooler months of this year. So this is central temperature. We haven't got the full stats in yet for October. I would suspect when we get them in, we'll probably find that some northern parts, maybe Scotland, northern England, possibly Northern Ireland, might actually have come out colder than average this month. I'm not sure whether that be the case or not, but we've got Central England temperature in so far. So we came out at 10.9 with our CET, an anomaly of just 0.3 degrees above average. So that's more or less average. Anything that's within half a degree either side of average, you basically say you've had an average month. If the deviation is over half a degree on either side, then okay, it's a milder or colder average month depending on which side you're on. But if you're within half a degree, basically you've had average temperatures, and a little bit on the above average side, but more or less around the seasonal norm. Remember, that's the 61 to 1990, which is the old and cold temperature average. If you was to compare back to a more modern average, you would probably find, I'm not sure, but you'll probably find that it's been a little bit colder than average. But again, it wouldn't be a great deviation. It would be within half a degree of the 71 to 2000, or even the 81 to 2010 average. So whichever average you look at, I think basically we've had more or less average temperatures this October. And that's what we predicted, of course, temperatures coming out close to average. So I think the Gavsweathers October forecast has done quite well. Really quite pleased with this one. And let's see how we get on with November. So this is the 700 millibar height anomaly that CFSV2 is predicting for November. Quite an interesting one. It's going for above average height, so that's blocking up to the north, these red colours up here, indicating high pressure, but extends down towards Iceland and into the central part of the Atlantic. So we've got a mid-Atlantic ridge feeding back into northern blocking going on there. And then if we come over to this side of the chart, we've got a trough of low pressure below average heights in across central and northeastern parts of Europe. So again, the high pressure is up there through the Atlantic, feeding back into this ridge that's over the Arctic, quite extensive northern blocking. And with high pressure there, you are presumably pushing out cold air from the Arctic into that trough. So this is quite a cold looking pattern, I think, for November that CFS B2 is going for here. It's a negative AO and a negative NAO, which is telling us that we haven't got the usual Atlantic setup. We've not got the low pressure around Iceland, high pressure around the Azores, westerly setup. We've got high pressure around Iceland and probably low pressure close to the Azores. In fact, you can see those areas of below average heights just there, which tells us that, again, we've got high pressure here, low pressure here. That's a negative North Atlantic oscillation, and the Arctic oscillation also negative with all of this high pressure up over the pole. So this is a cold looking signal, I think, for November. Actually, the model not really going for anything desperately cold at the moment. The warmest anomaly, not really much of it, but the warmest anomaly is down across Spain and Portugal. Coldest anomaly over towards eastern Europe and western parts of Russia. Everywhere else is just coming out with average temperature. But I think it will be a significantly colder month than this is suggesting. For Central Europe anyway, I would suspect Central Europe is going to have a colder, quite a cold month, and certainly colder than average. For us, it's always more difficult. We're close to the ocean, so we're always in that battleground between the warm ocean and the cold landmass. Always on a bit of a knife edge. But I think this month it's possibly worth the gamble of going for a colder than average month. I don't think it'll be straightforward. I don't think it'll be cold all the way. I think we will have periods of moderation, particularly perhaps through the second week of the month. We're going into the middle part of the month. We might find that it turns a bit milder then, with westerly winds trying to get back in. But I think overall we are looking at a cold and average month, not just for the UK, but for many parts of Europe as well. Precipitation anomalies coming out drier than average, which you would expect because, again, we've got the ridge through the Atlantic and then going up towards this sort of area. So we're blocking off the Atlantic, essentially blocking off westerlies, and we're bringing the winds in probably from a north or easterly type direction. And, of course, that is going to be dry. The cold continental landmass doesn't hold as much moisture as the Atlantic. So this time of year when it's colder, it will also tend to be drier, and then when it's milder, it'll tend to be wetter. So, excuse me, you would expect quite a dry month. I think that's what we'll get. Again, another drier than average month. Maybe not as dry as we've had it in October, but I think it will come out drier than average and a bit colder than average is my guess for how this is likely to go. That's CFS V2. What about Beijing Climate Centre? These are the 500 millimeter height anomalies for the month. So this is the anomaly from the 1st through to the 30th of November. Again, we've got a strong signal for above average heights around Greenland and extending down into the central Atlantic as well. Come over here, there's a trough across eastern and parts of Europe, northeast Europe into western parts of Russia. You would have thought that the flow is going to be going something like that, and again, come over here. Something like that. So again, I would have thought it's a cold signal for many parts of Europe. For us, we're close to the ocean, so it's a little bit more complicated. But based on that anomaly, I would expect a cooler than average month. This is a temperature anomaly for November from the Beijing Climate Centre. Most parts of Europe coming out colder than average. Central Europe just a little bit colder than average. Eastern parts of Europe and going up towards western Russia. There the deviation is much bigger. A really cold month possible there. For us, actually the temperature is coming out a little bit milder than average. I think that's over the top. I think we'll either have an average temperature similar to what we've had in October, but a greater chance of being colder than average, I think, this month. This is the precipitation anomaly for November, finally from Beijing Climate Centre. coming out drier than average. Again, you expect that because we're blocked off the Atlantic, high pressure through the Atlantic going up towards Iceland. So we're not getting the westerlies, we're not getting the mild, moisture-laden air coming in that you normally get at this time of year. So again, we come out drier than average. So pretty good agreement for the broad signals from CFS B2 and Bayesian Climate Centre this month. That hasn't happened for quite a while. It's a bit of a worry that the models are in good agreement for November. But reading between the lines, it looks like we're going to have quite a bit of blocking in the Atlantic and going up towards Iceland and Greenland, possibly at times tying back even into genuine northern blocking centred over the Arctic. A trough centred underneath that blocking across central parts of Europe means that the wind flow, the mean wind flow, should be from the north or the northeast more often than not, and certainly more often than you would tend to expect at this time of year, which is normally very westerly time of year with low pressure systems driving in off the Atlantic. So I think the message has to be a decent chance of a colder than average month for this November. That's what the GasObis.com November forecast is going to go for. A cold average month. Probably not a severely cold month or a very cold November, because I think we will get periods of moderation. And that's particularly, I think, focusing around the second week and going up to mid-month. And then we might see the blocking coming back, actually, later on in the month. So maybe it turns milder for a week or 10 days, sometime in the middle part of the month. Don't think it'll be enough to offset the colder periods. So overall, coming out a bit colder than average, maybe up to half a degree colder than average. And precipitation, I think that is very strongly signalled to be drier than average. There will be periods of wet weather, but not as much as you would expect in a typical November, and also not as stormy as you would tend to expect in a typical November either. So drier than average month, yes, a little bit colder than average as well. There will be wintry potential in with this month. I think we haven't really had much in the way of November snow since 2010. So it's been a long time that we've gone for seeing at least a widespread sort of snow scenario in November. We might break that at some point this month. I think there is a decent chance, a greater than average chance, of seeing snow, particularly for the north, but not exclusively so, this November. So all in all, quite an interesting month. There will be a lot to keep an eye on, I think, as we progress through the month. And certainly frost will be more frequent than you would expect at this point of the year as well. Finally, a sneak peek at December. So this is the CFS B2 700 millibar height anomaly for December. And this is all changed. Look at this. It's building up the ridge to the south across Spain and France. Got low pressure around Iceland. Not a deep low, but a low pressure is there. And this is bringing the winds back in from the west. The only saving grace for anybody who wants cold weather is that the signal is still there for quite a bit of high pressure to be to the north, round Svalbard, going up towards the Arctic. There is still a signal for blocking up there, albeit we're placed on the mild side of the Atlantic ridge that's setting up around Spain. So quite a different month for December. That looks milder and more Atlantic driven. We'll worry about that when we get to it. I'm not convinced that the CFS is right with that. It's a very big change on what we see for November. So not really sure about that. So coming back to the November forecast, finally, and in summary, we're expecting quite a bit of blocking, ridging through the Atlantic at times, going up to the north. That should mean that the wind flow, more often than not, is from the north and the east. Consequently, we think it's going to be a slightly colder than average month. There will be periods of milder weather at times. That's perhaps focused around the middle part of the month. And despite the fact that I think we're going to have another very dry month, not as dry as October, but it will be a drier than average month, there will be some rain coming through, probably around the milder periods as well. We'll see how it goes. It's always a gamble to predict cold and average conditions in this country. So, this particular time that we're in anyway, always a bit of a gamble to go for cold and average weather. We'll see how it goes and come back later on for the 5-day forecast. Remember, tonight we've got that live chat with myself and Quantum. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.